in collaboration with the one, the only Voltage Live. This is a Tuesday, February 25th, 2025, and welcome in to the fifth iteration of the game show sweeping the nation. It is the Brandon's World Minute to Win It quarterback version 2025. If you guys don't know, this original game show created by myself, me, Brandon Lewis, the founder, the executive producer, obviously the host of Brandon's World. I started this way back in my final semester at Fox School Radio, where Brandon's World was born. And what I do is this is based off the old game show hosted by Guy Ferri, who you will hear from in a second as our host for today's show. But what I do is, obviously, I have many opinions on the most important position in sports, the quarterback position. And with free agency coming up, with the draft coming up, every year I take the top teams in the draft. I take the top prospects in the draft. I take the top teams that need a quarterback that maybe won't have a position to get one in free agency. I take the top free agent quarterbacks and I essentially place them where they land. Now, we do this so far out from the draft process that last year I had a lot of misses on the draft. You guys know that quarterback draft was very highly touted. Obviously, we see the results on the field. But at the time last year, when we do this right before free agency at the end of February, I had Drake May going to Washington. I had Jaden Daniels going to New England. I had JJ McCarthy going to Denver. I had Bo Nix going to Minnesota. So I essentially swapped some of those picks. But this is always fun. It's one of my favorite shows of the year. I'm glad to present it to you. And again, because I have so many opinions on the most important position in sports, I have a minute to win it to tell you where the top free agent quarterbacks and where the top draft quarterbacks are going to go as these teams look to upgrade the most important position in sports. Generally, the way I've done it in years past is the topic could be sometimes team, sometimes it can be specific quarterbacks. For most of these cases this year, outside of one, I'm going to be going through teams. So we'll start with the draft order. We'll start with the Titans. We'll move to the Browns. And then you'll see, obviously, how the board falls from there. So without further ado, it's time to play NFL Minute to Win It quarterback version 2025. You can play along with me at home. And now, let me introduce you to the host of this game show today, Guy Ferri.
A minute to win it. Good luck.
Thank you, Guy. So let's kick it off with the team that has the number one overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. What will the Tennessee Titans do? Will they take a quarterback? Will they trade down? What is going to happen?
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
So, in my opinion, the Tennessee Titans, with the first overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, are going to take Cam Ward, the quarterback out of Miami, Florida. Listen, the Titans, we know what they need, right? They haven't had a franchise quarterback since seemingly Vince Young. They have Brian Callahan, who is a smart offensive coach. I like the weapons they have there. Tony Pollard, Calvin Ridley. They were in a lot of games last year. Their defense was not terrible. Will Levis gave the games away. The Titans need a franchise-changing, game-shifting player. I think some people feel like Cam Ward has more upside than Shedeur Sanders. It really feels like to me that Cam Ward here, who I don't think is a special prospect at all. You know, I think he has good mobility. I think in the right situation he could fit. I don't know if he's going to work out in Tennessee, but Tennessee takes a shot in the dark. Cam Ward is the quarterback they take number one overall. As we are right there on that 60-second mark. So now, Cam Ward is a member of the Tennessee Titans. With the number two overall pick, they have Deshaun Watson looming over their head. What are the Browns going to do?
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
So my hometown Cleveland Browns, I do not believe they should be taking a quarterback here at number 2. I've said it for weeks. I would trade Myles Garrett. I've actually been saying it for years. You're not going to win with Myles Garrett with the Browns. Taking up all that salary cap space, all like when Joe Thomas was in Cleveland. You need to draft his replacement and Abdul Carter, and I think Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski. They go out in free agency, and they now, Kirk Cousins, the former, obviously, Minnesota Viking quarterback who was with Atlanta last year, has history with Kevin Stefanski. Kevin Stefanski is back calling play calling after they fired offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey at the end of the season. I think Kirk Cousins comes to Cleveland. I also think the Browns bring back either Jameis Winston or Joe Flacco. And that are your 2 quarterbacks for the Browns in 2025. As we are right there at that 60-second mark. So now, I do not have the Browns taking a quarterback at number 2. As I said, I have Jameis Winston. I have Kirk Cousins coming to Cleveland. So Shedeur Sanders is out. Will the New York Giants take a quarterback at the number 3 overall position?
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
And I do not believe that they will, because I believe the New York Giants will actually be trading the number 3 overall pick. Yes, they will be trading it to the Los Angeles Rams, because the New York Giants are going to be taking Matthew Stafford off the hands of the Los Angeles Rams. Listen, Brian Dable, head coach, Joe Shane of the New York Giants, they don't have time to wait and develop a quarterback. They have to win now. And the Rams with Matthew Stafford, where there is smoke, there is fire. And I believe the rumors and the rumblings that have happened with this franchise for the past few weeks, Matthew Stafford has been linked there. I do believe that Matthew Stafford will end up being a member, of Big Blue going into 2025. We had some time there on the clock there at the end. And now, Shedeur Sanders, as I mentioned, is still not on the board here. I don't think the Rams are going to take a quarterback at number 3. They may trade down. And that team they're going to trade down with is...
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
The Las Vegas Raiders. Because at number 3, the Las Vegas Raiders in the 2025 NFL Draft are going to select Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback out of Colorado. And not only are they going to do that, but Pete Carroll, who is now obviously the head coach in Vegas, with Chip Kelly, the offensive coordinator, they're going to be bringing in Russell Wilson from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Listen, the Raiders are in a division with Patrick Mahomes, with Justin Herbert, with Bo Nix. They need to make a splash. That is the best division in football when it comes to head coaches. Pete Carroll is a Super Bowl winning head coach, maybe the 4th best coach in that division when you talk about Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, and Sean Payton. I think the Raiders need to make a splash. I think they bring in Russ to mentor Shedeur Sanders. I think Shedeur Sanders comes into Vegas. That's Big Wing and Al Davis and the Raiders. They make a big swing. So with that, now Shedeur Sanders and Russell Wilson are on their way to Las Vegas. Now I already mentioned that Matthew Stafford is going to go from the Rams to the New York Giants. So the question is, what will the Los Angeles Rams be doing at the quarterback position in 2025?
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
And a little bit of a shocker. Listen, I think the Rams, they may take a shot on a quarterback. I know they got Stetson Bennett in the 4th round last year. They may take another swing on a quarterback later in the draft this year. But the bottom line is, I believe that the Los Angeles Rams next year, their quarterback is going to be who the Vikings quarterback was this year, Sam Darnold. I think the Vikings are going to move off Sam Darnold, and I think the Rams see Sam Darnold as a short-term bridge solution as they try to rebuild the money that they have at the quarterback position The Rams, after moving off Stafford for the number 3 pick and then trading down to Vegas from 3 to 6, they're trying to get younger. I think that, again, they're going to look for a stop bridge quarterback. I think Sam Darnold going from Kyle Shanahan to Kevin O'Connell to Sean McVay all make sense in my opinion. And I think next year, week 1, Sam Darnold will be the starting quarterback of the Los Angeles Rams. Right there at the 60-second mark. So now you guys know Sam Darnold is the Rams quarterback. Well, the question is, who will be the Vikings quarterback? Is it going to be J.J. McCarthy, or who is it going to be?
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
The answer here is J.J. McCarthy. I think, listen, the Vikings, they traded up one spot for him. They took him, early in the first round. Yes, he did have the ACL injury in preseason, which sucked because in that game that he hurt himself in the preseason, J.J. McCarthy looked good. And listen, when I said the same thing on Sam Darnold, right, going into the year, when you have Kevin O'Connell, when you have T.J. Hockenson, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Aaron Jones, kind of hard to fail in that offense, in my opinion. So I think J.J. McCarthy is in a really good spot. We've seen the success of the 2024 rookie class with Caleb Williams, with Jaden Daniels, with Drake May, with Bo Nix, hell, with even Michael Penix. I think J.J. McCarthy has a chance to make this quarterback class essentially go 6-4-6. I think Minnesota now, they can reset the quarterback clock. They can invest a little bit more in that defense side of the ball. J.J. McCarthy will be their quarterback in 2025. And again, right there, 60 seconds on the clock with that one. So, I mentioned to you the Pittsburgh Steelers, in my opinion, will not be bringing back Russell Wilson as their starting quarterback. So who will they start week 1 of the 2025 NFL season?
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
Number 12 or number 8, whichever number you want to give him, Aaron Rodgers. We all saw the googly eyes he made at Mike Tomlin a few years ago when he was still a member of the Packers. The Jets have moved on from Aaron Rodgers, and to me, the Steelers are an old, dying brand. Defensive first, culture, not scoring a lot of points. They collapsed at the end of the season. They lost 5 straight. The offense could not move the ball. I didn't think it was necessarily Russell Wilson's fault, but I didn't think neither Russell Wilson or Justin Fields was going to put this team over the top, in my opinion. I think Mike Tomlin's a guy that's going to want a veteran quarterback to sort of run the show. They've ran through offensive coordinators the past few years with Fickner and whoever else they've met, Canada, and now Arthur Smith. I think Aaron Rodgers, if healthy, will provide a calming presence to the Steelers quarterback situation for a year. I think he starts week 1. Boy, it's really tough, man, trying to get all my thoughts in 60 seconds, which is, again, why we do this. So, Aaron Rodgers goes from the New York Jets to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Jets and Aaron Glenn start a new era. The question is, who is their quarterback going to be?
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
So they already have Tyrod Taylor on the roster, but I believe the Jets are going to take a little bit of a shot in the dark here in the first round of the draft. Why not go with Jalen Milroe, the quarterback of Alabama, who many people believe is a project? We know he struggled in that game against Oklahoma late in the year, but I like Jalen Milroe. There's something about him that to me screams a lot of Jalen Hurts, where he's been doubted. A lot of people don't think he has the great skill set, but then he will just win in big games. I think he's a little bit more of a project than Jalen Hurts. He's maybe more Anthony Richardson in terms of NFL ready. But I think the Jets, listen, you have Tyrod Taylor there, who's a mobile quarterback, great veteran, can teach Jalen Milroe. You don't have to start Jalen Milroe right away. You have Aaron Glenn, who's going to bring updates and infrastructure into that building. Tyrod Taylor and Jalen Milroe as the Jets QB room in 2025. So, we have essentially now gone through the top quarterback names in this year's draft, where I have Cam Ward going to the Tennessee Titans. I have the Raiders trading up to nab Shedeur Sanders, and I have Jalen Milroe going to the New York Jets. Now we get into teams that may move out their quarterback situation or they may not. We sort of nailed, what Tennessee is going to do, what Cleveland's going to do, what the Giants are going to do, what Vegas is going to do. And then obviously some teams with some difficult decisions like the Jets, Pittsburgh, Minnesota, the Rams. Now we get into territory where it's like, are these teams going to move off their quarterback or not? Let's start with the Colts and Anthony Richardson.
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
I'm a big fan of Shane Steichen. You guys know that. He was obviously the Eagles offensive coordinator when we went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. And I was a big fan of Anthony Richardson. And I thought him and Shane Steichen were a perfect fit in the 2023 NFL Draft when it happened. For whatever reason, Anthony Richardson, though, cannot complete a pass 5 yards in front of him, yet he can throw a 50-yard bomb seamlessly. The talent is there, and I don't really see an avenue right now for the Colts unless they wanted to go after a Sam Darnold, which I don't really feel like that's sort of their cup of tea as an organization, do another bridge quarterback after they went through the likes of Carson Wentz, Phillip Rivers, Jacoby Brissett, etc. I think you just give Anthony Richardson another year. Maybe you go another wide receiver. Maybe you boost up that offensive line a little bit. You just give him all the tools along with Jonathan Taylor to succeed. Hopefully, in my opinion, Anthony Richardson works out. I would stick with him one more year. And now let's go to their in-division stablemates, the Jacksonville Jaguars. There were rumors out there that Trevor Lawrence is on the trade block. The Titans, as I said, they already go with Cam Ward. I think Indianapolis sticks with Anthony Richardson. Would the Jags really move off Trevor Lawrence?
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
And I think the answer to that is no. For whatever reason, like I'm saying, the Doug Peterson Trevor Lawrence relationship was strange. They got up to such a hot start that first year. They came back against the Chargers in that wild card round, and then Trevor Lawrence got hurt midway for the season 2 years ago and just hasn't been the same quarterback. Listen, Liam Cohen pretty much had a career year this year with Baker Mayfield as the offensive coordinator down there in Tampa Bay. I thought Baker Mayfield, when Dave Canales went to Carolina, may take a step back. He actually upgraded with Liam Cohen. And I know all the things with Duval out there and everything, but listen, Liam Cohen seems to be a very smart offensive mind. I think if there is one guy who's trying to fix and get the best out of Trevor Lawrence, it's going to be Liam Cohen. You're going to give him a year. Jacksonville invested so many resources when they took Trevor Lawrence with the number 1 overall pick. They already paid him. He's going to be their quarterback in 2025. And with that, we now move to the NFC West. So there are questions here about one particular quarterback, and he was the Mr. Irrelevant pick in the 2022 NFL Draft.
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
So I don't think the Niners are going to pay Brock Purdy. Listen, I wouldn't. Brock Purdy really struggled last year when all the injuries hit San Francisco. Brock Purdy seems to be a quarterback who needs all the pieces around him to be successful. He doesn't elevate others. But there's no way to me San Francisco moves off Brock Purdy. I don't really see, I'm moving Brock Purdy for Sam Darnold doesn't make any sense. They already tried the young man's game with Trey Lance. That obviously didn't work. As I mentioned, outside of Aaron Rodgers, which I don't know if you move off Purdy for Aaron Rodgers. I don't know at this point Aaron Rodgers is that much of a difference. The free agency class is not great. I think Kirk Cousins is going to be more likely to end up in Cleveland than San Francisco. So I don't really think the Niners have a choice. I'm not paying Brock Purdy, but he's going to be the quarterback for the team in 2025. With a few seconds there to tick off the clock at the end, we'll go to their NFC West mates, the Seattle Seahawks. So I have been saying for years, I have friends, I have cousins that are Seahawks fans. I have been saying they need to move off Geno Smith. But will they?
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
I mean, to me, the easy answer here is no. I think that the Seahawks, for whatever reason, they are in love with Geno Smith. I think Geno Smith has a ceiling, right? 9-10 wins a year. He had that breakout year in 2022 after he sat on the bench with the Jets and Giants for all those years. Replaced Russell Wilson, did a very good job, got Seattle to the postseason, but they have not been to the postseason the last 2 years. And Mike McDonald's defense is good. It's not great up there in Seattle. There's rumors up there they could try to free up some cap space by going after a DK Metcalf, by going after a Tyler Lockett and maybe moving them. I don't know. Maybe they take a shot in the dark with a Riley Leonard or a Will Howard later on in the draft. But Seattle's one of those teams where it's like they're good enough to be a potential playoff contender, but they're not good enough to be a Super Bowl contender, and you have no idea how they're going to move off Geno. They have to do it, but I don't think they will. And right there, that's 60 seconds on the clock. And our final team today has a new head coach. His name is Kellen Moore, who was the offensive coordinator of the Super Bowl 59 champion Philadelphia Eagles. Right now, their quarterback situation is bleak. They have Derek Carr and Spencer Rattler on the roster.
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
So this team is in quarterback hell. This team is in salary cap hell. This team is in hell all the way around. It's a complete rebuild for Kellen Moore. I don't think they have the infrastructure right now to bring in a quarterback. I think this team needs a complete teardown. I think if there's an NFL team that needs to tank, it's this team. I think they need to reset a bunch of the money. I think they need to just be bad. They need to let some contracts expire. And so I think Kellen Moore, just to save his face, because you've got to win games in this league, right? They're going to keep Derek Carr and Spencer Rattler. I think Derek Carr is going to be the starter next year. Kellen Moore is going to try to get whatever he can out of Derek Carr. You win 5 or 6 games. As I mentioned, you sort of reset the salary cap market, and then the next year with the quarterback class, including Arch Manning, is a lot stronger. Then you go after a quarterback and you reset your franchise. This franchise had egg on its face since the Drew Brees and Sean Payton era ended. And that's my thoughts on the Saints as we conclude NFL Minute to Win It QB version 2025. As I do have Cam Moore going to the Tennessee Titans, number 1 overall. I have the Browns taking Abdul Carter as of now out of Penn State and going with the bridge quarterback options of Kirk Cousins, Jameis Winston, maybe even a Joe Flacco replacing Jameis there in Cleveland. I have the Giants moving the number 3 pick to the Rams for Matthew Stafford, which I have the Rams then flipping the 3 pick to Vegas. Rams move down to 6. Vegas not only signs Russell Wilson to reunite with Pete Carroll, but they draft Shedeur Sanders, completely redoing the quarterback situation there in Vegas. With the Rams moving off of Matthew Stafford, I have them going with Sam Darnold. With the Vikings moving off Sam Darnold, I think they go with J.J. McCarthy. Pittsburgh moves off Russ for Aaron Rodgers. The Jets, without Aaron, then start their new era with Tyrod Taylor, and I think they take a shot in the dark on Jalen Milroe early on in the draft. The Colts will stick with Anthony Richardson. The Jaguars will stick with Trevor Lawrence. The Niners will stick with Brock Purdy. Seattle will stick with Geno Smith. And New Orleans, with their quarterback room of Derek Carr and Spencer Rattler, they will stick with. Let me know where you guys think I'm right and where I was wrong in the comment section below on either YouTube or our audio podcasting platforms. And that will conclude this edition of NFL Minute to Win It QB version 2025. Like that clip from the Brands World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brands World podcast right here on YouTube.